This is Minutia Men with Rick and Dave.
Hey, do you remember the good old days when our wives didn't listen to our show? And I know that we were all...
I'm still living in those good old days.
Yeah, well, sadly, I am not. Which I appreciate the support that Michelle gives us to listen to our show.
She's damned if she does, she's damned if she doesn't.
Yeah, but
right?
When she hears this...
Yeah.
Lay off for a couple of weeks, sweetie, or, just wait a... Yeah, I don't need to know immediately after.
So you have some Michelle material planned for today?
Evidently, per my bride, I gave some dubious medical advice last week.
Uh-oh.
Or 2 weeks. I don't even know which show it was. Now, in my defense, anybody who listens to this show
is not coming here for medical
for
advice?
health recommendations.
Right.
They pretty much deserve anything they get. Right?
Which medical advice would this be?
Well, I gave out outdated information on how to remove lice. So the old, I guess, slathering the head with like lotion or that Cetaphil and putting a saran wrap over your head. Evidently, that's so 2018. I don't know.
I didn't know that.
And I guess there's some other way to do it. Now, sadly, I kind of stopped listening to her when she started to tell me this new technique, right? And who's got the time? But I have Michelle's email address here. So if anybody wants to discuss the new-fangled lice-removing techniques, you can email her at mhalley.stern. That's MHALLE Stern at AOL.com. And yes, she still uses AOL. Okay. So you're going to take medical advice for somebody who's using AOL? Go for it. Okay.
All right. Okay. You're crazy. It's time for Minutia Men with Rick and Dave.
The following is a Tony Lasano podcast, an Opie production on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. This is Minutia Men with Rick and Dave.
You know, when our boys were young, and I was on John Landecker's show, Bridget was told this technique of making them feel better by putting Vicks Vapo Rub on the bottom of their feet when they weren't feeling well.
I remember that was a fatty thing. Yeah.
And so I told that story to Landecker, went on the air with it, and we got a bunch of calls from people saying how dangerous that was. You should never do that to your children, blah, 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 blah. So you're not alone in giving out bad advice. Bridget also has done so.
Well,
through me.
What is so bad about putting Vicks Vaporub on the heels?
There was some reason. I don't know. Well. All right. We got a show to do.
Yeah, we do. We've got a great show.
And by the way, no medical advice coming from me throughout this entire show.
Yeah, you know what? I think I don't have anything either. But let's just start here. This story comes out of Australia, and this is what I want you to do. I want you to do your Australian accent without using the word shrimp on the Barbie or alligator. Can you do that? You can't, can you?
No, I can't. Doggone it.
Try it. You cannot use...
Hello, mate.
Okay, that was terrible.
Welcome to the Outback.
Okay, that's better. I can see you trying to get into character right now.
Yeah, that's about as good as I can do.
So here's the headline from the Daily Mail. There's a lot to unpack here, so I need you to listen to this very intently.
Okay.
This is the actual headline. Former Freemason, 51, found drunk and naked inside a huge pipe organ with a toy gun and remote-controlled police car, says he got lost while trying to hand out cheeseburgers to the homeless. Do you need me to repeat this? And I think I'm going to. Okay?
You know what? I may need some medical advice.
Evidently, there are no headline editors at the Daily Mail. Former Freemason, 51, found drunk and naked inside a huge pipe organ with a toy gun and remote-control police car, says he got lost while trying to hand out cheeseburgers to the homeless.
Wow.
A former Freemason who was found drunk and naked.
Okay, we're repeating ourselves now.
That's okay, because it's so much fun to say. He was found inside a huge pipe organ from this, like, one of the most renowned pipe organs in Australia.
Okay.
And he just got... he's getting sued for $1 million, basically, because
he ruined the pipe organ.
Basically, right. Glenn Langford was arrested on Wednesday after allegedly flooding the Brisbane Masonic Memorial Center. Okay, That wasn't even included in the headline, but evidently there's a flood, and now I'm confused, right?
Well, they've got an editor.
Here is a picture of Glenn Langford, and here you go. Can you
How old did you say he was?
I said 51, but you and I, we're doing pretty good. If he's 51, we're doing pretty good. The court was told that he was meaning to hand out cheeseburgers to the homeless, but ended up in this pipe organ. Okay.
All right.
I have no answers for you on how this happened.
Well,
okay.
I'm looking for toy car. I got to know about the toy car.
Right. You need the cheeseburgers. You need to know about the remote control.
Yeah.
Right. The journalists at the Daily. This is how mad I am. There were evidently no follow-up questions, right? They didn't talk about the flooding, didn't talk about where the cheese. They were unaware of the inverted pyramid. You know how we write a good journalistic story.
Yeah.
You know, so
you know why? They spent too much time on the headline. They spent too much time on the headline
and the ink, evidently. But I do have some fun Freemason facts.
Oh, okay.
Are you even familiar with a Freemason? Really?
Sort of.
Well, and this is maybe it's gonna sound kind of stupid. You know, whenever you see the word Masonic temple,
Yeah.
that's Freemason.
Right.
Did you know that?
Yes.
I didn't. I never made that connection.
You know what he told me before the show started? He came up to me and he said, "Have you ever seen Modern Family? That show's really good." Like, yeah, it's been a run. I mean, it's already
20
finished
years,
its run.
Yeah. 11-year seasons too. Yeah, it is a great show. We have got to get people from.
Oh,
a bunch of. Is Ed O'Neill's still alive, isn't he?
They're all still alive.
It's fantastic. Okay, guess how many U.S. presidents are known to be Freemasons?
I don't know.
14.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Yeah. Do you want to know who they are?
Not really.
Okay. And this is disconcerting and applicable here. 89% of the Supreme Court justices belonged to Masonic lodges in 1952. So if you're doing the math at home, that's 8 out of 9 of the Supreme Court justices were Freemasons, which incidentally compares to the 8 out of 9 of the current Supreme Court who are fascists.
Allegedly.
And actor Mason Reese, who we just talked about last week, not a Freemason.
Okay. All right.
See the Mason connection there?
Yes, I like
Lots
that.
of layers here, buddy.
Okay. Well, I have a story for you that I know you are going to love. What's our favorite state to make fun of?
Oh, well, that'd be Florida.
Of course. There's a new thing. I'll just read the headline here. At the Florida Man Games, big crowds cheer competitors evading police and wrestling over beer. Now, isn't this right down our
saying
alley?
racist comments? Sure.
Promoted as the most insane athletic showdown on earth, the Florida Man Games poke fun at the state's reputation for bizarre stories that involve brawling, drinking, gunfire, reptile wrangling, and other antics, carrying the risk of time in jail or intensive care. One event had contenders dueling in muddy water in an inflatable pool, pummeling each other with weapons made from pool noodles and duct tape. Another was
duct tape. That hurts. I mean, the noodles are fine, but the duct tape.
You're gonna like this one. Another one. This is for real. Another one was a theft simulation relay, in which competitors raced while toting a pair of bicycles, copper pipes, and catalytic converters.
Okay, that's funny.
Other events included contenders wrestling sumo style while holding pitchers of beer.
Okay, sure.
Or running from actual sheriff's deputies while jumping fences and avoiding obstacles. Others faced a scramble to grab cash, flying in simulated hurricane winds.
Sure.
This is just a great bit. We got to give a person an opportunity to live up a day in the life of being a Florida man without ending up in a cop car, said organizer Pete Melfi. But he had to tone down some of the racier aspects of the Florida man mythos to obtain a permit.
Yeah.
There's typically drugs and nudity, he said, but the city frowned on it when asked for the drugs and the nudity. Now, I love what they're doing here.
Yeah.
And in the spirit of it,
I guess you maybe have created some events. Sure.
I've created only one event.
Okay.
It's the Florida Triathlon.
Okay.
All right. And this is, you know what a triathlon is.
Sure. You do
running,
an
biking,
hour thing or whatever.
and swimming, right?
Yeah.
In this case, it's running to the public library to find a book to ban because it mentions a black guy. Biking to the nearest Confederate flag store to buy a Confederate flag bandana.
Okay, good.
And then swimming back out to your boat in the Trumper Boat Parade.
Okay.
And it's not over until you do 3 shots.
Okay.
Okay? 1 in the air with your unregistered gun, 1 down your gullet from a bottle of moonshine, and 1 at your wife for bogarting your chew.
Right, okay.
That is the Florida triathlon.
And then you have to listen to 6 hours of Kid Rock.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Hey, we got
games.
Well, that was very good, and we got reviews. You want to hear this review? This comes from Plot Thickens.
Okay.
On Potable. I'm not really sure what I think this is a positive rating. He gave us 5 stars, but maybe a passive-aggressive line here. Rick and Dave are like a couple of buddies you had in high school who always said things that eventually got you into trouble.
Okay.
Is that a fair...
Yeah, okay. I kind of get where they're coming from there. Well, thank you very much. What was his name?
Plot Thickens on
Plot
Potable.
Thickens.
So please leave reviews.
Yes.
We are everywhere. We're on the Amazon thingies and the Googles and the potty things, whatever. Just leave us.
Right. You're listening to us somewhere. Where you're listening to us right now, just go and give us 5 stars and say, boy, those guys are swell. That'd be nice enough. And every week we do a feature called Studio Walls.
Time now for Studio Walls.
And the words of the prophets were written on the studio walls. Rick and Dave.
So this is the part of the show where we dip into our archives and we relive a moment from our past shows, and usually involving celebrity. And this week is no different. This week would have been Lou Reed's birthday. Now, we never had Lou Reed on the show, but we did have Mick Rock on the show, who is a famous rock and roll photographer who took, some of the most famous pictures of Lou Reed and David Bowie and Queen. And
the iconic photos of that whole, the 70s, 60s.
A British guy, a swell guy. He has also since passed away.
Yes.
Which is a bummer. But before he passed, we got a chance to talk to him. And he told us what it was like hanging out with Lou Reed. And it basically is not something that we would ever have been able to do. And I'll just let him tell you. Here we go.
I mean, when I hung out with Lou Reed, he'd always insist on staying up for 2 or 3 days at least.
Wow.
In fact, I remember working on a project with him. That Rock and Roll Heart was... we had all these TV sets in the background, and we had to come up with imagery for it. And I remember staying up for 4 nights.
Oh my God!
And saying to Lou, "I've really got to crash, man. I mean, when you're young, you can get away with it." And he called me a pussy. He said, we're only just warming up. Man.
It's 96 hours only, you pussy.
What the hell?
He could go for a week without sleep. Yeah. I mean, maybe he had a little bit of assistance.
Performance enhancing,
And let's be honest, he's not around anymore.
Right, a lot.
I did a beautiful book with him.
Yeah.
We co-signed just before he died. Lou was. I mean, he had that reputation which he played up to, but he was a very sweet guy. If he was your friend, he would go out of his way for you. He really would.
I met him once he was at Farm Aid, believe it or not.
Oh, in Champaign,
1985. Yeah, and he was an absolute gentleman, super nice man.
So Mick Rock, has this fantastic documentary on Netflix called Shot.
Yes,
it's fantastic. So watch. And sadly he passed away a year ago or so.
Yeah, you could tell he had some miles on him when we talked to him, but he was funny.
Was he the one who was watching Price is Right when we called?
No,
that was Alan White from Yes.
Yeah, he's also gone. But I wonder if he won the big showcase before he went to the great Drum Kid in the Sky.
I hope we don't become like the Sports Illustrated cover, don't do their show because you're going to end up dying.
Well, there are quite a few. There are quite a few.
Hey, I have got another story. Want to hear it?
Yeah.
This comes out of the Rocky Mountain State. Do you know what the Rocky Mountain State is?
Would that be Colorado?
It would be. Former funeral home owner arrested after a corpse lay in his hearse for 2 years. Police in Colorado have arrested a former funeral home owner accused of hiding a woman's corpse in a hearse for 2 years and hoarding the cremated remains.
Cremated.
What did I say?
Cremated.
What was the first word I said?
I don't
cemented.
know. Yeah.
So if you cement something and you cremate something, that's I invented
now
a
say
word.
it with an Australian accent.
Okay, so cremated remains of at least 30 people. Thursday's night arrest of Miles Hartford, and again, I don't want to judge. Here's a photo of him. We're doing pretty good. If this dude is 33, we're doing pretty good.
Wow.
I did, right?
Yeah.
There's some miles on him. Basically, he got caught. Police ended up going to his house for whatever reason, and they found 32 half-empty and open urns with ashes on the floor. And as they were investigating the urns, they see this hearse, and they smelled it, and they opened it up, and there was a 2-year-old corpse in the hearse. Right now.
Oof.
I'm not going to immediately jump to conclusions here, okay?
Yeah.
Do you remember when, well, of course you do, when you had a minivan and little kids?
Yeah. Oh,
right?
Yeah.
And the crap that was in the back seat of the
whoever goes in the back.
Exactly. There would be like Cheerios and
cups of milk.
Yeah, right.
From
And sticker
6
books.
months ago.
Yeah, sticker books and a library book from like 1974 or whatever.
French fries.
Yeah, and we had. Well, you didn't have. Well, maybe you did. Did your boys did not like Polly Pocket dolls? Do you know what the Polly Pocket dolls are? Do you know what they are?
No, I don't.
They're like little 2.5-inch dolls.
Okay.
That, you put the little slippers on and whatever. Just
everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely everywhere. So I'm thinking this dude was just using his hearse. He's probably got 2 little kids.
Right.
He was using the hearse as a minivan, and he's like, "I'm not. Oh, that's good." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm not going to go back there after you guys screwed everything up."
Yikes.
So that's it, Colorado, baby.
Okay. Well, I have a story for you. This week was a very special week. Why was this a special week, Dave?
Let's see. End of February. Well, we got an extra day.
Exactly. Leap Day. And February 29th, as it only happens every 4 years, it turns out is become a very appealing wedding date for couples in the United States.
I don't have to buy you an anniversary gift.
See? Exactly. According to the wedding website, The Knot, the 2024 Leap Day accounted for more than 37% of the weddings that week. And it was a Thursday. All right. So, I mean, that's highly unusual. Usually it's about 5 or 6% on a Thursday. Historically, Leap Day has been a popular day for couples getting married in Las Vegas. In 2020, over 1,000 couples were married on Leap Day, which is, it's usually the number's around 500. People have been looking for meaning in this day, said Catherine Parkin, a professor of history at Monmouth University. There's a notion that the leap year is a novel and fun special day. One of the more well-known leap year traditions, she said, is that it's also time for women to do the proposing.
To take a leap.
Yeah, now listen to this.
A leap of faith.
She said modern folklore dates the tradition back to the 5th century in Ireland, when Saint Bridget urged Saint Patrick to allow women the right to propose. A compromise ensued, and the latter agreed to allow it once every 4 years during a leap year.
Okay, so that's
yes. So it figures it was a Bridget that pushed him.
Yeah, right.
See, I can say that because she doesn't listen to the show, right?
But Michelle's going to tell it. Michelle's going to text her, so it's not.
With fewer anniversaries, one man got married on Leap Day. He feels like they can do something extravagant every 4 years,
right? And don't do anything for the other 3 years.
And hear me out, because your silver anniversary won't be until the 100th year of your wedding, of your marriage. You're going to save a fortune.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So happy anniversary to anybody who got married on Leap Day. And that was your week this past week. It's time for another feature. Do you remember what we call this one?
That would be Celebrity Potpourri.
That's right.
A random name pulled out of Rurik's bowl of brushes with celebrities. Mixture, collection, selection, assemblage, medley, assortment, variety. Time now for Celebrity Potpourri with Rick and Dave.
So this is kind of a sad story this week.
Great.
Richard Lewis passed away. I got quite a few emails about it because Richard Lewis was a
big
frequent guest on the Steve and Gary show, which I produced that show. This one here is from Daniel. Hearing that Richard Lewis died made me vaguely recall a run-in Steve and Gary had with him and how the circumstances of that sort of foreshadowed Steve and Gary's later falling out. Do you have any notes on that you could share with your followers? I do remember that. I don't remember exactly what caused the rift.
Well, he hung up the phone on the air, didn't he? He said something like, "I'm done with you guys."
Yes.
And that was I remember.
Yes, but I don't remember what caused it. Do you remember what caused it? But I do know that at least he and Gary made up because he and Gary he was on Gary's show quite a bit. I'm not sure whatever happened with Steve, but I have a Richard Lewis story myself, and this kind of gives you an idea of what Richard Lewis was like. I co-hosted a show with Richard Lewis once.
Really?
On The Loop. And it was...
Was that when they were like on vacation or whatever?
They were on vacation. And, it was really his show. I was kind of running the controls. But it was really the first time that I had ever been allowed to run the controls. And so I had to concentrate on getting the commercials, getting to the traffic at a certain time.
What year was this?
This was 1988.
Okay, so that's 36 years ago.
36 years
so
ago.
So you've been doing a board operating for 36 years?
Well, let's just say that I was not entrusted with it often.
Okay.
But this was like my first time, right? And now you see me. You know how good I am at this. But so I had to handle that. I had to screen phone calls while we were on the air. I had to do all of this stuff going on. And
for like $6 an hour.
Yeah, probably. But the point is, Richard Lewis is was the neediest comedian ever, right? So he would be there doing like these angsty jokes, and I was giving him no reaction. And he
did not like that.
Freaked out. He he started like spinning out. He's like, and spent like a half hour just ripping me, like, can we get a doctor in to check his pulse, make sure he's alive? Because I'm totally bombing here. And we went to the commercials. And during the commercials, I said, "Hey, man, you're being real funny." He goes, I don't need that now. You're just completely full of crap. I know you're not really. I'm just terrible. I'm obviously a terrible comedian. I have no idea how to do this. Right. I've been doing this for 30 years, and now I can't do it at all. I totally suck. A total spin out. A complete spin out. And I felt terrible because it really was my fault because he needed that, the instant audience. So that was the last time I tried to do that with a comedian. Yeah,
well, you're hearing all these great stories about him now. From he's worked with everybody. Jamie Lee Curtis. Everybody's just saying to the T how wonderful of a man he was.
Yeah,
and how nice of a guy he is. But
he was a nice guy. I got to know him.
A very dented can.
Very much so. And in those days, he was still drinking and doing all sorts of other stuff. And he was sober, I think, the last 20-some years of his life. So,
I heard about another show. I think it's called Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah,
I guess he's been on that too.
yeah, I know. But anyway, rest in peace, Richard Lewis, one of the funniest people I ever met. Yeah. We have another show, Dave. What's that show called?
That would be Minutia Men Celebrity Interview, and we've got a great guest coming up.
All right, tell everybody.
What's coming up in a little while, like on TV? Big TV event.
You mean the Super Bowl of Hollywood?
The Super Bowl of Javier of Hollywood. Yeah.
Wow, you can't speak today.
Well, I was so worried about smacking my lips that.
Oh, is that what it is?
I've been drinking all this water to make sure I don't smack my lips.
It's the Oscars.
Yeah,
that's what it is. And who's the guest?
Eric Litt, who is the author of Oscar's Biggest Mistake on Mistakes on Eckhart's Press. He's got another book coming out later this fall, which is going to be Worth a Second Look, which is going to be books about movies that are worth a second look, right?
Yeah,
Guilty pleasures.
And we'll talk to him about both of those things.
And but we have him on every year to do his predictions, and one year he was
perfect,
100%. Boom, 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 boom. Last year,
last year was a tough one
because 7 games.
A bunch of movies that nobody gave a crap about last year. This year, there's some big ones.
And he is going to be giving us his predictions.
All right.
We'll see how he does.
Well, check it out. All right, we have people to thank. Special thanks to our executive producer, Tony Lasana with opishows.com. Opie is hippo backwards. OPPIHshows.com. We're distributed by Ed Silla with Radio Misfits. Great Talk Radio isn't dead. It just moved to a better place. RadioMisfits.com. And we'll be back again next week, Michelle, with a brand new episode of
Minutia Men.
The proceeding was a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. Find our other great shows on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and at RadioMisfits.com. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of Opie Productions.
Tony, can you shut up?
I can't believe you gave out her email address.
You can email her at mhallystern@aol.com.